Good evening from New York. This is Tuesday, December 14th, 693 days until the 2012 presidential election. And as WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is granted bail, then kept in jail, he makes clear that he has no interest in becoming a quiet, non-controversial defendant. And in our fifth story, the epic, constantly evolving battle between leaks and secrets as old as time itself, or between truth and war, takes a new form. Filmmaker Michael Moore posts part of the bail money for Assange. Mr. Moore joins me in a moment. Today, a British judge granted that bail in the amount of £200,000, the equivalent of 316,000 American dollars, but then kept Assange in custody while Swedish prosecutors immediately challenged the decision. Britain's High Court will hear the appeal. The Swedish government wants Assange extradited for questioning regarding alleged sex crimes. Assange's lawyer, Mark Stevens, saying, quote, they clearly will not spare any expense to keep Mr. Assange in jail. This is really turning into a show trial. Prior to the bail hearing, Assange released a statement dictated to his mother, Christine, after she visited her son in prison, quoting, my convictions are unfaltering. I remain true to the ideals I have expressed. This circumstance shall not shake them. If anything, this process has increased my determination that they are true and correct. We now know that Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and others are instruments of U.S. foreign policy. It's not something we knew before. I am calling for the world to protect my work and my people from these illegal and immoral attacks. The latter part of that statement refers, of course, to Operation Payback, in which online hacktivists calling themselves anonymous crashed the websites of MasterCard and Visa after those organizations cut business ties with WikiLeaks. Meantime, Assange's mother in interviews has expressed gratitude as well as obvious concern.
And I told him how people all over the world in all sorts of countries were standing up with placards and screaming out for his freedom and justice.
You know, I'm no different to any other mother. You know, every time the news goes on, I'm sort of glued to it. You know, is he okay? And these massive forces have decided they're going to stop him, and they're not going to play by the rules.
Assange's harshest critics in this country have called him a terrorist, with the rest of the media sometimes being characterized as criminally complicit. Congressman-elect Alan West of Florida telling a conservative internet radio show that Assange's journalism amounts to a cyber attack, and he added this.
Regardless of whether or not you think it really doesn't cause any harm, the fact that here is an individual that is not an American citizen, first and foremost, for whatever reason, you know, gotten his hands on classified American material and has put it out there in the public domain. And I think that we also should be censoring the American news agencies which enabled him to be able to do this, and then also supporting him and applauding him for the efforts. So that's kind of aiding and abetting of a serious crime.
And a partial score, Tea Party Congressman-elect 1, sanctity of freedom of the press 0. A partial score. An even more extreme statement perhaps about Assange from Walter Mondale's former campaign manager, Fox News pet ex-Democrat Bob Beckel.
And I'm not for the death penalty, so if I'm not for the death penalty, the only way to do it, illegally shoot the son of a...
Tonight, the U.S. Air Force has confirmed that it has blocked its computers from accessing the New York Times, the Guardian newspaper, and 23 other websites that posted classified documents obtained by WikiLeaks. Officials say they want Air Force computer systems clean of classified material, that this is not an attempt at censorship. Back to the matter of Assange's bail, Judge Howard Riddle had set strict conditions in which Assange would have worn an electronic monitor and resided at a designated address. He would have to report to British police every evening and observe 2 4-hour curfews. The $316,000 worth of bail was drawn from a guarantee of $380,000 put up by various supporters. When our next guest gave $20,000 towards that effort, it was accompanied by this statement, which reads in part, I support Julian, whom I see as a pioneer of free speech, transparent government, and the digital revolution in journalism. His commitment to exposing the follies of government and business offers the greater society a chance to protect itself from these follies. Some aren't just follies, some are crimes. Let's bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
You also offered the use of your website for Assange or your servers or anything else you can do to keep WikiLeaks alive. What's the premise?
The premise is that we really owe a debt to Mr. Assange and to WikiLeaks for turning on a big spotlight on those people who brought about, first of all, this war that we've been in for the better part of this decade. These people concocted lies, and they committed crimes in order to send our young men and women off to war. And it has cost us not only the lives of our own people, but the lives of literally now tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of Iraqis and Afghan citizens. And I just think that if in a free and open society, if we aren't able to find out the truth, mistakes like this get repeated over and over and over again. I mean, I was thinking yesterday when I sent the bail money over to London, what if we'd had a WikiLeaks in August of 1964 when we were told that the North Vietnamese fired on a U.S. ship, which in fact was a lie. It was a concocted lie at the Pentagon. And we didn't find out about that until Daniel Ellsberg released the Pentagon Papers some 6-7 years later. But what if there had been a WikiLeaks? What if someone could have got that information out and told the American people at the beginning of the Vietnam War, my fellow Americans, you're being lied to, this was all made up? How many lives could have been saved? And you could go down so many other examples, whether it's, imagine the Dick Cheney memos back and forth as he was pressuring the CIA at the beginning, just before this last Iraq war started. What if those memos had been released in 2002 or 2003 so the American people could see he was trying to get the CIA to gin up the evidence and sort of fudge the facts so they could make their case for war? What if we'd had access to that? So this is, to me, I just think an instrument like WikiLeaks is vital for a free and open society to exist because, and frankly, I think this is something that Thomas Jefferson or Ben Franklin would have, if they could have invented this, if there had been an internet back then, they